Good afternoon. I've just got a quick spare 5 minutes, so I thought I'd just share some information for how to do a relative compression test on a scope. I do a lot of these at garages when they've had misfires and they've replaced an injector or fixed something and we've still got a misfire or a contribution balance issue on one of the injectors if it's a diesel. So it normally means some kind of compression issue or something mechanical effectively. And this is a really quick way to check that, rather than trying to do an old school compression test, which this won't replace, by the way. That's still really good, but it requires something to come out. You need to get compression direct to the cylinder. This is a really easy way to test cylinder compression against each other, hence the relative compression test name. We're going to look at all 4 cylinders relative to each other. It's really easy to set up. Any scope can do it, and it works exactly the same way on any type of engine, as long as you know if it's a 4 or a 6 or a 5 cylinder. You can use an amp clamp. You'll get a slightly cleaner signal. I don't bother. I just use a voltage drop technique, which is what we're going to do here. So as far as setting it up goes, we want to, first of all, make sure we disable the fueling. So I've just made sure the injectors are disconnected on this. I don't want to flood the car, so we'll make sure the injectors are off. Some people disconnect the spark plugs or the coils and stuff, but I'm always worried that the injectors are going to fire some fuel in there that we don't want. So it's got to just crank. We don't want it firing up. There is clear flood mode and a few things on cars, but the easiest way I find is just disconnect the injectors, diesel or petrol. And we want to be one channel on our scope. So we're going to run a ground and a single channel positive and negative of the battery, or the jump terminal points if you can't get to the battery and it's hidden away in the boot. You want to go to the battery ideally, you'll just get a slightly cleaner signal. But if you can't, it's fine to do it on there. Or if you've got a breakout box, you can actually run it straight from pins, I think it's like 5 and 16 or something on the OBD. That's the setup for the wiring. So dead easy, negative and positive of battery to channel 1 on the scope and a ground. Obviously that's going to then run to our scope. And for the settings on the scope, we're keeping it super simple. User screen's probably slightly bigger on here. We're going to run our scale, left-hand side scale there. We're going to run our height. We're going to run that at 1 volt. That gives us a pretty decent size hump. If you want a bigger one, obviously you can go a smaller scale, but that's plenty for me, I've always found. And then we want 2 seconds per division. So that gives us a nice range on our page where we can see multiple humps. What we're going to see when we crank is how hard that starter motor is pulling the voltage down. So every compression stroke, if it's working hard, it's going to pull the voltage down. Now what I've done is inverted the signal, and I've done that just so it's a bit easier for me to see. I prefer it to have it that way, so I've inverted it. You don't have to do that, but we are looking at voltage drops. So if you don't invert it, you're going to see the humps coming down on the screen. So down, down, down. I like to have them going that way, which is similar to when you do it with an amp clamp. Anyway, I won't bore you any further. Let's have a look at what that looks like when we actually do a crank no start. So that's it firing up, and then we're looking for steady humps and ideally all the same size. So usually cranking for about 5 seconds is plenty. And that was enough. So if we quickly just zoom in on that, and we've got a pretty good signal there. I'll just raise it a little bit just so you can see it in a bit better light. And then it is quite simply a repeating pattern. So first cylinder, second one, third one, fourth one. First cylinder, second one, third, and so on and so on and so on. Now, if we had compression down on one of them, we would see a smaller hump than the others. And then to work out which cylinder that is, if you've not already got a fault code, obviously giving it away, we would then tie in another channel with some kind of reference, usually an injector signal, and we'll have a sync. So we'll see 4, and on one of them we'll see our green channel every time on every third one or every fourth one. We just need to know the firing order to work out which one that is. So if we synced it with cylinder 3 and put a green channel on cylinder 3, say it was this one that was down on compression and cylinder 3 was the line going through it because we've synced it, then we would know from our firing order, for example, say it was 1, 3, 4, 2, that the next one's going to be 4 and the next one's going to be 2. So as long as we synced at least one, maybe cylinder 1 every time or whatever you want to sync it with, then we always know what the other 3 are going to be based on the firing order. And that's how we narrow it down. But usually you'll have a contribution balance code for a diesel car, and you'll usually have a standard misfire code really for a petrol car. It's not foolproof, but it is a pretty good indication of what is, I mean, in this case, a really clean and very, very well kept Audi TT, but it's giving you a good idea there of all 4 cylinders being the same. So that's a relative compression test. That's the setup for it. It's dead easy. And if you've got a misfire on any type of engine, the first thing to do for how long it takes is just whack them settings on. You can even preset them and save it, and just quickly check that mechanically everything's okay. Then you can look at your injectors, you can look at your coils, you can start doing further tests. But at least at this point, we know all 4 cylinders are A-okay and the compression's perfect, so you can hear it too. But yeah, I hope that helps anybody out there that wants to use a scope or is trying to get into scope work. This is a really good one to learn first. I use it 4 or 5 times a week. Anyway, have an amazing rest of your day, and I'll see you all again on the next one.